If you're a lineman in charge of keeping the lights on, Grainger understands that you go to great lengths and sometimes heights to ensure the power is always flowing, which is why you can count on Grainger for professional-grade products and next-day delivery, so you have everything you need to get the job done. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Life is a workout, and Smoothie King is here to help you power through. Whether you're crushing morning miles or sprinting through back-to-back meetings, give your body the energy, protein, and power it needs to help you conquer your goals. Only at Smoothie King.
Coming up on episode 414 of Wheel Bearings, we've got the Toyota Tacoma Trailhunter, the Subaru Forester Hybrid, the Nissan Kicks, Ford Expedition, Ford's new $30,000 electric pickup truck, curated by Cadillac, Hyundai's new Ioniq 2, and a whole bunch of interesting stuff from Monterey Car Week. All that and more coming up next. This is episode 414 of Wheel Bearings. I am Sam Abul-Samad from Telemetry.
And I am Nicole Weekland. We'll do AutoWeb this week.
And I'm not quite sure where Robbie is today. I think he might have had a late night. I think he might have had a show last night. So he may or may not join us in progress. But in the meantime, Nicole,
yes,
what have you been driving?
Well, I'm going to do one that I was driving. Which should I do? The big one first or the little one? The big one and the little one.
Let's start with the little one.
Okay, so a few weeks back, I had the Nissan Kicks. So the Nissan Kicks is all new this year, like all new. We had a big conversation at another event about all new versus refreshed. This is officially all new. The Kicks, I think of it as an entry-level crossover. I kind of like this car. I feel like some people love this and some people hate this. But it's another case of if you want to buy an $80,000 car that has all of that, this is not that car. This car starts at $21,000.
That's the other one that you're going to drive.
That's the other one. This car, so the S trim, which is front-wheel drive, starts at $21,830. That's cheap. It's like really cheap for a car. And it's not like it's fancy, but it's a solid little car for $21,830. So I think this is a good value. You just have to not be looking for fancy. It's a great starter car if you just want a nice, affordable car to get around. I had the SR with all-wheel drive, which is the top trim, and it is available in front-wheel or all-wheel. With all-wheel drive, $27,680. And would you like to guess a destination, although you're going to win no matter what?
I'm going to say $1,400.
You were so stinking close, $1,390.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you're right on. So power for this 2-liter 4-cylinder CVT, 141 horsepower and 140 pound-feet of torque. It is not a race car. It is not going super fast. No, definitely not. So where people start to say, like, this isn't great, is because when you mash the gas, let me just say that number again, 141 horsepower, 140 pound-feet of torque. It's not the most responsive car. That's not to say it's sluggish. It just doesn't have a huge amount of pep. If you're trying to get extra oomph for passing on the highway, is a little tricky. But if you're just trying to get up to highway speed, plan accordingly. Don't cut off that 18-wheeler. Let him go. Merge behind. I mean,
that's generally a wise piece of advice anytime, no matter what you're driving.
Try to run out the 18-wheeler, right? So, but I feel like, because I hear a lot of people, like when I said I was driving this, like, oh, you got the Kicks. I'm like, I don't hate this car. I kind of like it. I think it looks cute too. It has some personality to it. And I appreciate that, it's a tiny little affordable car that still looks cute. I mean, you can get it like in a two-tone, like there's one where like the body of the car is sort of this dark gray and there's a red roof. It doesn't look dull and boring and cheap. It actually has a lot of personality. And now it has all-wheel drive, which is something that it didn't have before. In fact, my daughter ended up buying a couple years ago a Nissan Rogue Sport when the Rogue Sport was still out there. The reason she didn't look at the Kicks, there was no all-wheel drive. And she was in Milwaukee, and the roads in downtown Milwaukee are a mess in the winter. And I think, no, I think you need all-wheel drive on there, hun. So that's literally what crossed us off the list. If this had been available then, she might have gotten this one. So overall, I like this. I think it has a decent number of features. It's not one of those tons and tons of features kind of thing, but like you have a 12.3-inch touchscreen, decent size touchscreen. You have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on the SR trim, the top trim. You get a 6-speaker audio system that's standard. Again, you get a nicer one on the top trim. It's a 10-speaker Bose audio system. There's a couple of USB-C ports up front. There's a wireless charging pad. It's not really a tower. I mean, I think it doesn't even. It's not.
No, I mean with that kind of power,
little car, so
yeah.
you're not going to be able to tow anything with it. But you have a decent little amount of cargo space. So behind the second row, with front, a little bit numbers drop a little with all-wheel drive, but it's 30 cubic feet behind the second row, and if you fold those flat, you get 60 cubic feet. They drop to 23.9 and 50.1 with all-wheel drive. That's still a decent amount of cargo room for a little car. Like I kept thinking about again, my daughter when she was in college having to haul stuff back and forth from a dorm to an apartment and then home for the summer and stuff. This is great for that. It's like just enough cargo room for that period of time in your life where you feel like you're constantly moving from one place to another. So I think it does what it does well. I like the kicks. Now it's, modest performance. It's not the smoothest suspension system. Like if you're on really pebbled roads, you're going to know it. If you nail a pothole, you are going to know it. But overall, I feel like for the value with the style and the technology and what it offers, I think the new Kicks is better than the old Kicks. I think it's noticeably better, and I like it. I've always liked this car. Even though it's not a really performance-oriented car, I love this as a first car or like a college kid car or a starter car. I think it's fabulous.
No, I totally agree. The Kicks, for those of us in our community that are constantly driving new stuff all the time, the Kicks, cars like the Kicks, the Mitsubishi Mirage, the Versa, they get a lot of criticism, because we get to drive a lot of much cooler, faster, more, in some cases more attractive cars. Mm-hmm. And the reality is, there's a lot of people that arguably most people cannot afford those cars. People need, there's a lot of people that need basic, reliable transportation that they are going to, they want to get something new that's got a warranty, that's got the latest safety features. They need basic transportation. They don't need, they're not taking it to the drag strip on Friday nights.
It might be fun to see.
Yeah, I guess. They need something that's going to get them to work or to school or even a young family with their first child to haul them to daycare or to the doctor's office, and so they need something that is affordable, reliable, gets decent fuel economy, and the Kicks will address it'll hit all those points. And if you get anything but the base model, it's got Google services built in, so you've got navigation and everything. But even on the base model, you've got CarPlay and Android Auto support, right. So you can plug your phone in. It does what it needs to do, and it does it pretty well.
It does. And I think, what, in general, Nissan, we're all a little concerned about Nissan.
for good reasons.
For good reasons, like the function of the company and how they're going to do. But, and people seem to be giving Nissan a lot of crap these days. And the thing is, it's not the most inspired car, but they're really good at building the car to do what it's supposed to do for that segment. Like, their little truck is great for a little off-road truck. Their little SUVs are great as little starter cars. They're like, you get something like the Murano. It's just this nice, pretty, nice to drive car that looks good, that isn't super upscale, but still looks really nice. They do a good job of creating a car for a very specific sort of use case and nailing that use case. Problem is, if you're outside of that, if you're looking for something more, if you're just looking for affordable, well, they've got it, but it's gonna, there's things that make it affordable, like a smaller engine. But I think the Kicks, I also like the Versa. I guess I like really
I do
cars.
too.
I think the Versa is a great little car. Like, and people hate, oh God, I have a Versa. I'm like, well, but like you said, Sam, we get sort of jaded, I think a lot of us, because we do have the opportunity to drive such a wide range of cars. And some, oftentimes when we get them, it's a nice car and it's also the top trim of that nice car. So it's like the fanciest version of whatever it is. So we very rarely see a base model of a car, I think, unless we're renting cars for some reason. So it's almost like a check yourself on the behalf of journalists. Like, wait a minute. Yeah, I know you were in a Mercedes last week. This is not a Mercedes. Doesn't have those features, but you could buy 3 of these or 1 Mercedes, So
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of the kicks. I like it. I
Yeah.
liked it all the time. I've always
And
liked it.
and you mentioned, that we're often in the top trims of a car, the SRs, the top trim of the kicks.
Correct.
Arguably, if someone, was thinking about a kicks, I would probably recommend to them that they go for the SV, the middle trim.
Yeah.
Because on that you can still get the cool two-tone paint colors. You can get the base one. A couple of the combinations. The gray with the black roof are only $350 option, or the gray with the red roof, same thing, $350. If you want the red main body with the black roof, that's $800. There's a bunch of different combinations, so you can have some fun with it. It's the SV. I think there's a couple of options that are missing that are standard on the SR, but the big reason I would actually recommend the SV instead is you mentioned the rough pavement. Certainly here in Michigan where I live, a couple of years ago I had a Versa SV or an SR that had the 17-inch wheels with the 50 series tires, not much sidewall. And I had a tire blowout on a pothole, and you've got basically the same size tires on the Kicks SR. If you go with the SV, you get, I think it's a 16-inch wheel with tires with a little more sidewall, a little more compliance.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about basic transportation, if you look at your total cost of ownership, what am I going to be spending not just on the car but on maintenance? If you want to perhaps minimize your chances of having to spend money on new tires long before your tires are actually worn out, you might want to go with the SV instead. It'll be a little slightly more comfortable ride, but the tires will probably be a little more durable on rough pavement.
Yeah.
So things like that are things to consider.
Well, and you also, and I misspoke, the 12.3-inch screen you can get on the SV and SR. That's a 7-inch screen on the base trim. So it's another, you also get a slightly more tech-looking dashboard. But again, it's on the SV. That's as high as you have to go, and you can get all-wheel drive on any trim. So it's, I think recommending the middle trim, a lot of times that's the sweet spot in any lineup. I've sort of found.
Almost always.
Almost always. Like the base trim, there's something you really want on that car that's missing. There's like, oh, I really want this. But you have to go up one trim to get it. And if you, go to the top, it's like, well, now I've spent $10,000 outside my budget. But if you go in the middle, you get the things that are sort of like the must-haves for whatever your shopping needs are. And then a few little like, oh, well, I don't really need that, but that's cool. I'll take it, So I feel like the middle is the sweet spot in most OEMs lineups.
And one other thing, they on the Kicks, one of the colors that they offer, if you don't want the two-tone, is a deep blue pearl, which
Pearl,
it's
pretty. I didn't see it.
It's a really attractive color.
Now I'm going deep blue pearl Nissan.
You can get the deep blue pearl with a two-tone as well. So the deep blue pearl lower body with a gray roof.
Oh, I see it. I see it in the two-tone. That's what has to come up. Oh, that looks slick. I love the two-tone roof. Again, I think it makes a tiny little affordable car.
Looks a little more interesting.
Kind of snazzy. Like that snazzy. And that blue color actually is beautiful. I like the blue.
Yeah.
So that's the Nissan Kicks. The affordable Nissan Kicks.
What was the slightly more expensive car that you had?
Ever so slightly more expensive car. And I'm so psyched I got these back to back. Last week, remember I had a Lincoln Navigator? I have its down market brother. I don't know. I think only because Lincoln's a fancier brand. I have the Ford Expedition.
The mainstream.
Let's see. I have the Ford Expedition King Ranch. And can I just say the King Ranch? I always think of it as the Wakeland edition because it has a little flying W thing on the
the brand.
That's not mine, but I'm like, I have embossed seats. Yeah, they have a W on it.
I had these custom built for me.
Right. I had these custom built with a W. So I had the King Ranch. I do love that. It does make it feel very cowboy. It has a cowboy vibe going on with that, but it's called the King Ranch. What else do you expect? It's got a little cowboy thing going on. So this is huge and it is pricey. Want to just go off. What do you think destination is on this?
Full size SUV. I gotta say, it's got to be at least 1995, but I think they might have lifted it to 2195.
1995 is what I have coming up on mine. So
Okay.
you were right with your first guess.
I think.
Did
I
it
think
go up?
Might have increased since you
Since I wrote, yeah,
since the one that you have was built.
technically. Yeah,
let me
because
see.
sometimes we get things in I mean, they can change anything anytime, and we're still going to have
Yes.
the same Monroney for the car. So what is it
did.
now?
It's 2195 now. Because last week when we were talking about the Navigator, I looked it up afterwards. So this is one of the things we talked about this last week. Ford, with all the tariff stuff, Ford's been trying to hold the line on pricing, and offering employee pricing on some models and things like that. And great for their advertising, but what they did was they snuck in a hidden $200 price increase through the destination charge.
Sam
So
and
they
I
raised-
have destination charge issues. Just put in the price of the car, dang it.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I will applaud General Motors for the last 4 or 5 years at least. When you look at their advertising or at their consumer site, the price that you see on there includes the destination charge. So they actually include that because it's not something you can avoid.
Right.
Automakers, please, fine. If you need to itemize it on the Monroney for legal reasons, go ahead and do that. But do not advertise a price. Do not talk about a price that does not include a factor that consumers cannot avoid.
Right. You can't say, it's not like you can say, I don't want the carpeted floor mats, take them out and give me $75 back. You can't remove this. The destination fee is stuck there. You are paying it no matter what. So you should see that up front, especially since it's not a $200 charge. It's like in this case, $2,000. That's a significant jump in the cost of your vehicle. So yeah, I feel like it should just be included.
So how does the Expedition compare to the Navigator?
So it was really neat. So Expedition King Ranch, this is the top of the lineup, and it starts at $83,975. It's not cheap. The base trim in the lineup, though, starts at, my computer's stuck. It's not going to tell me. I think it's at about 62.
Base price for the Expedition?
I've got 62.
Let me find it.
My screen is being cranky as I was scrolling across.
Yeah, 62,320. That's for the active trim.
For the active. So it's active platinum trimmer and King Ranch. And there are 2 different powertrains available, but not all of them are available on every car. Sam and I were just running through it. The Expedition has, the trimmer has a more powerful engine. The Platinum offers the more powerful engine. The King Ranch only comes with the base engine, which is still plenty of power. It's a 3.5 liter twin turbo V6. It has 400 horsepower and 480 pound-feet of torque. It's burly. If you got one of the trims with the other powertrain, it's 440 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. So it's a little bit of a jump. It's
still the same engine. It's just a
higher
output version.
Yeah, I shouldn't say it's a different engine. It's a high output version of the same engine. So you get a little more oomph from it. If you want a little more oomph, I feel like this has plenty of oomph, though. It definitely doesn't feel underpowered. You smash the gas pedal and the sucker moves despite being really big. Okay, noted last week that the retracting side step things in the Navigator made it sound like you had run over something. Excuse me. These are quieter. I don't know why, but it was the first thing I noticed because I had just gotten out of that. I thought, wait, let me listen. And I opened the door, shut the door. I'm like, that's quieter. Open the door, shut the door again. No, it is quieter because I was super aware of it every single time they retracted when I was in the Navigator. I forgot about it in the Expedition.
I wonder if on the Navigator that you had, perhaps they had been damaged at some point. Like maybe, it ran into a curb or something like that.
I don't know, but it was noticeable. I thought, gosh, this really is quieter. So weird thing, but there you go. This is all the bells and whistles version of this car. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, it's got Blue Cruise. It's got, it's like pretty much every feature you could want. It can manage a ton of cargo. It can tow up to, I think it's 6,000 you can either do 4x4 or 4x2. So it's up to 9,600 pounds. With this engine, it's a little less. If you have the high output, it drops to 9,000. so you get a little bit less. Cargo room is ridiculous. Behind the third row, 22.9. Behind the first row, it's 108.5. So if you fold all the seats down, you can pretty much put your living room back there and bring furniture to someone else's house. So it's, it's big. It's also very comfortable. I mean, this is the kind of, like I said, anybody can buy any car, but this feels like the car you want to get if you have at least 3 kids, because you're going to be using the third row and you want the extra seating and you need the extra space. And the family goes on vacation just to have normal amounts of cargo. You've got a lot of suitcases. Or if you like to road trip, it is so super roomy. It's very, very comfortable. I enjoyed driving this, and it feels, it's not as like smooth, I would say, as the Navigator. The Navigator has that luxury car like easiness to it, sort of softness to it. This is a little bit more grunt, like I'm a comfy car. I got all your features, but I've got some power to it. I enjoyed driving it. I even took it into the city, was driving it around Boston. And
that must have been interesting with something this enormous.
Which is kind of a test to how easy it is, because you always feel like you don't have enough room because it's so wide. But it handles well in a city, which sounds silly, but when you have to make that really tight turn, because it handles those turns pretty well. It's surprisingly easy to drive in congested city streets. And I even wedged myself into the world's tiniest parking spot at the parking garage this week because it was all that was left. And I was like, oh, can I do it? And even then, it was easy to maneuver. Like, I didn't have to do that back in like 10 times to get it lined up. It was like one good try and I was lined up and backed right into the spot. So I like this overall. I think it's pricey, but it's a top trim of a 3-row SUV. It's not going to be cheap. Do I think it's worth it for that $83,975? Yeah, actually, I would, if I was looking for that, if I wanted that kind of style, because you're paying a lot for the style. If you don't want that whole King Ranch thing, you can get like a more refined style if you want to go with platinum. And for Tremor, because it's more the off-road one and that gets the high output engine you get with that, then you also get like orange accents and things. So with these trims, there's very much a style difference. There's the base trim, there's a platinum for the fancy, the Tremor for the off-road, the King Ranch for I think I'm a cowboy. So if you want to be a cowboy, get the King Ranch. And your price between like the base is definitely cheaper at $62, but when you start getting up there, like the Tremor and the King Ranch are only like $2,000, $2,500 apart. So it's very much like, are you looking for the cowboy thing or are you looking for the off-road thing? So overall I like this. I think the Expedition is a good car.
I think you have overlooked one little detail that makes this the obvious choice over the new Navigator.
What? Oh no, I haven't. I'll say I know what it is.
Okay.
I can reach out and I can adjust the air vents. I just put my hands straight out in front of me. I grab the little thing, up, down, left, right. Yes, that is the single biggest selling feature over the Navigator. You can adjust the air vents with your hands. Just reach the vent.
Yeah. So, one of the things on the new Expedition is they use the same displays that they use on the Navigator, except that for the display up by the windshield, the upper display. So you get the center touchscreen, and then instead of the coast-to-coast setup they have in the Navigator, you only get the left-hand side of it, because the Navigator display is actually 2 separate displays side by side. And so the Expedition only gets half of it. It gets the left-hand half of it. How was that driving that?
I mean, it works fine. It's funny, because the steering wheel is also very similar, the way the touchpad controls work to move things around. Here's the thing. I feel like the Navigator, being the fancier car, right, having that very large screen, because those large screens, let's face it, they make things feel a little more upscale, a little fancier. And so it works in the Navigator. I feel like for the Expedition, you could do this in this, but I like this too. It's not a matter of, like, it doesn't feel down market. It doesn't feel like a step back, or it's not as advanced. I think because it has the screen that you do have is still wide. Like, it goes...
Yeah, it's 24 inches.
Yeah, so it's big enough that it actually, as it's way back on the dash, it's behind the infotainment screen to a point. Like, it's set back so you can clearly see it, but it's still very large and then you have a large infotainment screen. So it doesn't feel like they've skimped and you have a tiny little screen up there. And then this, so it doesn't feel, it's just a different style. And I like how it looks. I'm fine with it either way. Do you have a preference? Which one do you like better, Sam?
Well, I mean, given how they're using the right half of the screen in the Lincolns, which is basically you get to pick up to 3 widgets to throw on there, I would just as soon just leave it off, because it's not really very useful, at least as it's being used today.
Right.
So it's kind of, okay, you're adding extra cost. You've got more components there. I would say, the Ford approach, just use what you're actually using instead of, just having something that's kind of vestigial out there.
It's sort of like the Lincoln does the big screen because it looks cool and fancy. And Ford's like, well, we're just going to, like you said, we're just going to do what makes sense. This is what you need. This makes sense. So I don't have a problem with this at all. I kind of like it. So I like this car.
One thing that I'm kind of surprised still that Ford hasn't done on their full-size SUVs, on the Navigator and on the Expedition, is offer the Power Boost hybrid system from the F-150. Because one of the nice things you get with that is the Pro Power on board, where you can get up to 7.2 kilowatts of power, which obviously I think you're not going to have contractors using this using the SUVs the way they do with the pickup trucks. But I think especially in the Tremor in particular, this is the off-road one. If you're going out to a campsite, and you want some extra power for your, to power your coffee maker or your blender for your morning smoothies,
right?
Things like that. Having that Pro Power on board would be really useful. Or at tailgate parties in the fall. It seems like an obvious one that Ford probably should be offering in this vehicle, but so far they've chosen not to.
I mean, it is kind of weird. You're absolutely right in everything you said. I don't know if there must be a reason that we don't know why they would choose not to do that, because it does seem like it would be a great idea,
Yeah.
It does have a cool, but you know what it does have that's cool? It has this like cargo tailgate manager thing that makes use of that cargo area, where it becomes like a table or a seat back, or like makes 2 levels of storage. So they did think of some kind of nifty features. I like
and the Expedition does have the same split tailgate system that they put on the Navigator this year. So you get
I'm a big fan of. I love split tailgates because then your milk doesn't roll out. Not that that's ever happened to me.
But I will step up and acknowledge that yes, stuff has rolled out of vehicles on me. So I have dropped things out of a tailgate.
Yep. If you have a tailgate on your vehicle, at some point you're dropping something.
Yep. All right.
If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Did you know you can support Wheel Bearings directly? Head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia and you can become a patron today. Your contributions will help fund the platforms and tools we use to bring the podcast to you. And exclusives and improvements are already on the way thanks to your generosity. So if you want to be part of an automotive podcast like no other, head to patreon.com/wheelbearingsmedia. We've updated the Wheel Bearings merch store, and now there's a whole bunch of new choices, new colors, new styles, T-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, mugs, travel mugs, stickers, aprons, tote bags, you name it. You can get your Wheel Bearings merch at shop.wheelbearings.media. Go check it out. That's shop.wheelbearings.media. All right. I also have 2 cars to talk about. Well, two vehicles to talk about. First off, the Toyota Tacoma Trailhunter. So this is the most expensive variant of the Tacoma. Well, one or two jointly most expensive because it's the same price as the TRD Pro. So Toyota has 2 off-road, really, upper end off-road variants of the Tacoma. They've got the Trailhunter and the TRD Pro. The TRD Pro is more of a Ford Raptor style. It's more desert runner type of thing, high speed over longer distances. And so the suspension is set up more for that. If you want something to go off on, say, the Rubicon Trail or Moab, something like that, the Trailhunter is probably the better choice for you. It's designed more to have that compliance and everything that you want for rock crawling. And the one that I had was in the oxide bronze metallic, which is sort of a bronze green color, and really nice color. A couple of things that visually set apart the Trailhunter from the TRD Pro. The Trailhunter comes with a standard raised air intake, also commonly referred to as a snorkel. But despite having the raised air intake, it doesn't, unlike, say, when Ford had the Bronco Everglades a couple of years ago, what Ford did, and what people, when they do this in the aftermarket, when they add a snorkel like that, the idea is to allow for greater water fording. So that means that you also have to raise the vents for differentials and other components, so you don't end up sucking in water in places where you don't want it. Toyota didn't do that on this, so it's just a raised air intake, which the primary effect of that is to make a lot of extra noise when you accelerate. If you lower the passenger window while you're accelerating, you will hear the whooshing as the air is flowing through the snorkel. Oh yeah, very much so. It can be quite loud and quite annoying. So there's that. And then there's also a sport bar on the back above the bed, like behind the cab, to hold lights and the sort of other things. It's not really a roll bar, but it, designed for to, like I said, for accessory lights and racks and things like that you might want to put up there. It's got a bunch of really good off-road gear. You've got ARB steel front and rear bumpers. The ARB also makes that sport bar. You got Old Man Emu dampers, really really high-end dampers for that off-road performance, to give, and to really help with letting the wheels move around when you're crawling over rocks. There's a bunch of extra skid plates underneath to protect the underbody when you are crawling over said rocks. I think probably the biggest advantage that the Trailhunter has over the TRD Pro is it does not include the isodynamic seats, which means that you can kind of use the back seats in the Trailhunter. The Tacoma's back seat among midsize pickups is one of the tighter ones. It's particularly tighter compared to, say, the Ford Ranger. And if you get the TRD Pro, those isodynamic seats are about 2 or 3 inches thicker than the seat backs, I should say, are about 2 or 3 inches thicker than the standard seats. And so you basically eat up almost all of your rear leg room if you have those seats. The Trailhunter has the standard seats, which are actually quite good. They're comfortable. They're supportive. I think the Trailhunter might actually have more prominent side bolsters, to help hold you in place as you're rocking back and forth over the rocks. You get four-wheel drive, part-time four-wheel drive with a 2-speed transfer case. You get 4 low and 4 high. It's the 2.4 liter hybrid max powertrain, which has plenty of power. It's I think about 375 horsepower and about 450 foot-pounds of torque, something like that. It's not really designed or tuned for maximum fuel economy. It's more for performance. The label value on the Monroney for fuel economy is 22 city, 24 highway, 23 combined. I've never gotten anywhere near that with a Tacoma hybrid. In this one, when I went and did my fuel economy loop, I got just shy of 18 miles per gallon. And that's, driving it sanely, just driving it, on my loop,
Sanely.
little, a mix of highway and suburban, rural, and city streets, staying roughly at the speed limit. And it's never been particularly fuel efficient. And I've had the same experience with the full size, with the Tundra and with the Sequoia hybrids as well, which use the same basic system. The powertrain, I said, plenty of performance, not an issue there. The 4-cylinder Toyota engine we've discussed before, not the greatest sounding engines in the world.
Yeah.
They sound a little rough and coarse. They're strong. They got plenty of performance. They just don't sound very good compared to a lot of competitors. What else? There's a 14-inch touchscreen in the middle with the Toyota multimedia system, which is overall a pretty good system, but still has the same issue I've complained about since the beginning, in that if you are using the native system, there's no way to have 2 panes or 2 windows on the screen, so you could have your navigation on there and then have the media player beside it. As an example, that's the most common use case. So you can either have navigation or your media player or other, whatever other things they have in there. That's not ideal. But you do have support for wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. So if you use either of those, you will have your windowed interface, so you can have all your stuff on the screen at the same time. Mm-hmm. You also have the JBL Flex portable speaker that's in the top of the dash behind the touchscreen. So, if you're out in the woods, your campsite, or, the beach, whatever, you can pop out the speaker and use it as a Bluetooth speaker with your phone, which is handy little, it's not a big thing, but it's a nice little feature to add in there. What else? Not only a few options on this one that I had. They had the towing technology package with the wireless camera system for $850. The door panel scuff protector for $135. A ball mount for the hitch, $70, and $575 for the spray-on bed liner. Grand total, $66,405. Mid-sized trucks have gotten very expensive.
I mean, it's a lot of truck, to be fair, but that is a lot of money.
It is. And, that is about $10,000 more than a Ford Ranger Raptor.
Mm.
Which,
what would you get?
is probably
would you get the Ford Ranger Raptor, or would you get this?
If I was spending my own money, I would probably go for the Ranger Raptor.
You would.
Yeah. I mean, $10,000 is $10,000.
$10,000 is $10,000. Yeah.
And the Ranger, has more power. The Ranger Raptor has more power. Doesn't actually get any worse fuel economy. Arguably, it's a lot of tests I've seen, it's actually, typically similar or a little better. And the back seat is a little roomier than it is in the Tacoma, even without the isodynamic seats. So I would probably opt for the Ranger Raptor if I was spending my money. But this is a good truck. I didn't do any off-roading during the time I had it. But earlier this year, or was it last year? When we were doing the Toyota 4Runner drive somewhere out west, they have a Trailhunter version of the 4Runner as well. And the 4Runner and Tacoma are the same platform. The 4Runner Trailhunter has all the same good stuff, the Old Man Emu dampers and the ARB stuff. And we did do some rock crawling with that one. So I know it is very, very capable.
Yeah.
So it can go places where, a lot of other vehicles can't. I think, like I say, I would probably get the Ranger for myself.
I think I'd be with you. Probably do the Ranger. Yeah.
But if you are a Toyota fan, and you like Tacomas, and a lot of people do, the Tacoma remains by far the best-selling midsize pickup in the market. Sells nearly double any other midsize pickup truck. So, obviously a lot of people that really like Tacomas, and at the for the more like the SR5, the lower trim levels of Tacomas, the pricing is a lot more reasonable. They start around 40 grand, which is a lot more reasonable. But at the upper end, they do get quite expensive.
Yeah, they get a little pricey.
Yep. All right. The other vehicle I had also had a Toyota hybrid system in it, but it wasn't a Toyota.
Oh.
It was the 2025 Subaru Forester Touring Hybrid.
Oh, a Subi.
Yeah. So this year, for the Forester Hybrid, they've had a plug-in hybrid system in some of the Subarus, like the Crosstrek, in prior years. This year, they've discarded that. On the sheet here, it refers to it as a next-generation Subaru Series Parallel hybrid system. What this is, in fact, is the Toyota hybrid system, but it has been repackaged because on Toyotas, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive Toyotas with the hybrid systems, they're set up with inline four-cylinder engines. They're mounted transversely under the hood. And so the transmission, the hybrid drive unit has to be packaged in a certain way to mount on the end of the engine. Well, in a Subaru, they're using their four-cylinder boxer engines, which have the crankshaft, instead of going sideways across the car, the crankshaft is going forward and back, longitudinal. And so they basically took the guts of the Toyota system and put it in a new case, a new package to mate up with a Subaru boxer engine, and then put that into the Forester, and I think it's going to be in a couple of other models as well. And what you get is a 5-passenger, 5-door crossover. And it's funny, I haven't driven a Forester in quite a long time, and when I walked up to this, and had it parked next to a Hyundai Ioniq 9 that I'll talk about next week, I was surprised at how large it was. It was larger than I expected it to be, and it's it's quite roomy inside. It is as I said, Subaru is using their 2.5 liter boxer engine in there. The combined output is 194 horsepower, which again is not a lot, but given the size, excuse me, the Forester is actually not crazy heavy. I mean, it's not light, but 3,946 pounds. It's not ridiculously heavy, and so the performance is good. It's decent, and it is rated at 35 miles per gallon city, 34 highway, 35 combined, which is in the same ballpark as the other all-wheel drive versions of the hybrid compact crossovers, like the RAV4 and the CR-V, and the Ford Escape, and the Hyundais and Kias. They're all in that 35, 36 mile per gallon area for the all-wheel drive versions. Now, granted, those competitors, you can also get them with front-wheel drive to get you closer to 40 miles per gallon. Subaru does not offer this with front-wheel drive. It's all-wheel drive only. So you get, you're going to get slightly less fuel economy than you would with a front-wheel drive. But with 16.5 gallon tank, they say 581 miles of range. On my test loop, I actually got 37 miles per gallon with this, so I did a little better than the Monroney, and so that's it's reasonably fuel efficient, particularly given the size of the vehicle, and excuse me. One thing that I found particularly noteworthy, I mentioned earlier the sound of Toyota 4-cylinder engines. Because this is a Toyota hybrid system, it has the same kind of control strategy as the Toyotas. So you get that motorboating effect, where when you're accelerating, it'll often rev the engine up to about 4,000 RPM, and it'll sit there and, just rev at constant speed as the CVTs, the eCVT system is gradually changing gear ratios and getting you up to whatever speed you're going to accelerate to. in a Toyota hybrid like a Camry or a Prius or a Corolla, it's not the most pleasant sound in the world. The Subaru, on the other hand, actually was both quieter, and the sound I did get was much more pleasant to listen to.
There you go.
It did not have that kind of groaning sound that you have from the Toyota four-cylinders. So this was actually a much more pleasant vehicle to drive than, say a RAV4 hybrid. And, got decent fuel economy to boot. So there's that. As I said, it's roomy. It's got plenty of cargo space in the back. Probably my biggest complaint about it is the infotainment system. Both the software, which it's Subaru's older Starlink system. It's been around in Subarus for better part of a decade. Mm-hmm. But more importantly, the display that they were using. Not a great display.
Really?
Yeah. So, if you look at most modern devices, most modern screens in cars or tablets or your phones, the way, the display is actually a stack of a bunch of components. You've got there's the digitizer on top, which is actually sensing when you drag your finger across it. And there's the glass, and then the display is actually underneath that, the actual LCD that renders the stuff that you're looking at. And on most modern displays, those are all laminated together really tightly. So it looks like the display is pretty much at the surface that you're touching.
Okay.
When you look at the display in the Subaru, you can see where the display itself is actually set well back from the top surface that you're touching.
Oh, God.
And on top of that, it doesn't have the highest contrast. It's not the brightest screen. It's not as bad as some of the old Nissan screens. Nissan's gone away from those, but it's not a great display. So hopefully, certainly in a vehicle that we drove this week that we'll talk about probably next week, I think, that one has a much better display in it. Hopefully we'll start seeing Subaru adding those to some of their vehicles as well in the next couple of years. What else? 8.7 inches of ground clearance, which is really good. Again, for a vehicle of this type, it's better than pretty much anything in the class. Most of them are around 8 to 8.3, 8.2 inches. Some are even less. Some are well under 8 inches of ground clearance. In fact, a lot of them are. Let's see. The EyeSight ADAS system doesn't use radar. It uses stereoscopic cameras mounted behind the windshield. Worked pretty well. Had no issues with that. Did a decent job at lane centering and adaptive cruise control. Let's see what else. Those are the main things. It does have support for wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, as most other vehicles do now too. USB-A and USB-C ports. There's a wireless charging pad for your phone. It's a good car to do stuff if you have an active lifestyle. We loaded it up, took it to the lake, took Morty out to the lake to do some paddleboarding last week, and put the seat cover in the back there. Lots of room in the back for a couple of beach chairs and the paddleboard. It's a good vehicle. I quite liked it. As I said, it's quite fuel efficient. Base price on the total price $44,005. You want to guess at the destination charge?
Let's go with $995.
$1,420.
Oh, I was way off.
Yeah. Base price for the touring trim is $41,695. And I'm not sure off the top of my head what the base price is. Let me see. Base price for the where is build and price on the Subaru website? Let's see. Forester.
Can you find it?
Let's see. Premium. Okay. So Subaru is a little unusual. Oftentimes on many of their vehicles, The base trim level is actually called premium.
Which I think just messes with you. Like, how many people can we check?
Yeah.
No.
There actually is a base Forester, but that's the gas-only version that starts at $29,995. And then there's the premium, and then the base price, or the base level for the hybrid is the premium hybrid, which is $36,595. And the Touring that I drove actually looks like since the Monroney that I had with the car was initially printed, the price has gone up. So it's now, the Touring hybrid is now actually $43,295 plus the $1,420 destination charge.
Oof.
But when you compare that against the top trim levels, and I mean when you compare any of the trim levels, the 36 for the premium hybrid, is in the same ballpark as what you would pay for an all-wheel drive RAV4 hybrid or CRV hybrid.
Mm-hmm.
They're comparably priced. So mid 40s for the Subaru Forester hybrid. And that let's see. Let's move on to some other stuff.
Okay.
So Ford had some big news on last Monday. Did you watch the reveal or the announcement or anything? Was they streamed from Louisville?
I did not actually watch the reveal, but I know of what happened. Wait, everything just closed on me. I am aware of it. The great big electric pickups news.
Yeah. Now, if you were actually writing down those words that you just said, you would probably have some commas in there, or maybe rearrange the sequence of those words, because what we're not talking about here is great big pickups that are electric.
No.
We're talking about great big news about electric pickups.
Yes. It's because it's not going to be a big pickup. It's going to be a small pickup, and they're saying it's going to start at about $30,000, or did they say under $30,000?
At about $30,000.
So $30,000. They're going to make it at the Louisville, Kentucky plant. I said Louisville, right? I think. And it sounds cool, but it's still a ways off. Like, they're saying production is planned to start at the end of 26. That's over a year from now, because it's only August of 25. And will go on sale in 2027. So that's still a long way off. Like, I feel like when these OEMs make these announcements that are just, we're going to build this. Oh, awesome. When? 3 years. What? Like, I just feel like there's a lot of wiggle room in there for things to happen as far as what consumers want and what pricing does. And now we have things like tariffs and all these other things to worry about, and the cost of I don't know.
So, as you mentioned, this is going to be a smaller truck. Ford first talked about this, first brought it up about a year ago when they were announcing some shuffling of their EV plans. Mm-hmm. They mentioned that they've talked about this skunkworks program they have in California to develop lower cost EVs, and this is the first product of that program. And a year ago they said, we're doing a mid-sized electric pickup from the skunkworks program. And that's the first of several products from that program. And they're now officially calling this platform their Universal Electric Vehicle Platform, because it's going to be it's a flexible system that can support a bunch of different form factors. And even though they've been referring to it as a midsize, I was on a call with some executives on Monday morning, a couple hours before the announcement, and I asked, so you call this a midsize, but what is the actual size of this? Is it closer in size to a Maverick or a Ranger? Which is, the Maverick is considered the compact truck and the Ranger is the midsize. And they said it's about the same footprint as a Maverick, but because it's an EV, they can package things better. And so they're, in terms of the cabin space and everything, they said it'll have more passenger volume than the new RAV4, which is roughly 100 cubic feet. So it's going to be fairly roomy passenger cabin. It's going to have a frunk. It's going to have a bed. And that's about it as far as specs that they've told us.
So really, we have the loosest of details about this.
Very, very loosest.
Which is not surprising given that we're looking at the end of next year before they start building the thing, because things could change between now and then. So it makes sense that they haven't really given the nitty gritty on this just yet.
But my guess is that at that $30,000 price point, that base, they are probably, I'm guessing they're probably going to have 2 battery size options. That base truck will probably have a range of about 250 miles. And then there'll probably be about a 300-mile version that'll probably be about $3,000 or $4,000 more. And what's unique here, I mean, they have told us a bunch of other technical details without getting into specific specs. So a key part of how they're getting cost out of this thing is that they're following the pattern that was initially set by Tesla in 22 with their Texas-built Model Ys. It's now been copied by a bunch of Chinese automakers, where instead of the body being built up from a bunch of steel stampings, they're using a couple of large aluminum die castings for the front structure and for the rear structure, and then joining those to a structural battery pack in the middle. And the big part of the announcement on Monday is that they're adopting this new production system. They call it an all-new revolutionary production system. They talked about going from the Model T style assembly line to what they're now calling their universal EV production system, or an assembly tree. And the rendering that they showed us, showed just a single transfer line is the old style assembly line. And then the assembly tree was 3 parallel branches, one making the front structure, one putting together the rear structure, and one putting together the central section, that then all come together to be joined together into a finished vehicle. And the particular arrangement that they're doing here, and the combination of the way the vehicle is architected is new, but it's not entirely new.
Not quite as revolutionary, maybe.
Yeah. So, as I said, the diagram that they showed had 3 parallel branches, for these 3 sections of the vehicle that they then join together. Well, if you look at the Rouge Electrical Vehicle Center, which is the plant where they build the Lightning today, it's a separate factory that's adjacent to the main F-150 plant in Dearborn, Michigan. The way that plant is arranged is at one end of the building, you have the cab and bed that are built in the body shop next door, along with all the gas F-150 bodies. They come in, they put them down on an automated guided vehicle. And as it starts to move down the assembly, because it's not actually on a line, the AGV just moves from station to station. So it's basically an automated cart. And the people on the line are adding parts to it, and they're installing the dashboards and the seats and everything. And it moves towards the center of the building. From the far opposite end of the building, they bring in a frame and a battery pack. They put those onto an AGV, and they join them all together and add the suspension and the high voltage wiring harness as it moves towards the center of the building. When they get to the center of the building, they flip that chassis over, put the cab and the bed on it, turn 90 degrees, and then continue down another branch back parallel to the original one to put on the wheels and all the last components before it rolls out of the building. So it's kind of like the assembly tree, but with the branches, instead of being parallel sticking up, think of it as being flattened out. It's the same basic concept. The specifics of the arrangement of where the branches are is a little different, but it's the same basic concept. Yeah. What is different is that when they do that on the Lightning, when they put in the dashboard, they have to go through the door openings in the cab. When they put in the seats, they go through the door openings in the cab, which makes it really awkward to maneuver all these big parts in there and then get everything bolted down. What they're doing for this universal EV platform is none of that stuff is going in through door openings. Instead, they're doing what Tesla does with the Model Y in Texas, which is they have the battery pack actually is the floor of the car. So there is no floor in the body. The battery pack forms the floor. And so on one of those 3 branches, they put down the carpet, they bolt the seats onto that, they bolt in the console, they bolt in the dashboard, and then they lift all that up into the central structure of the car through a big hole in the floor, and then bolt it into place. And that makes it a lot easier to build. There's a lot fewer parts. The process can go a lot faster. The ergonomics are a lot better for the workers. The whole thing, it takes a lot of cost out. It can improve quality, if you do it right. So I think that there's a lot of potential, for Ford, and, I'll links in the show notes to a couple of articles where I talk about this in more detail. But I think there's a lot of potential for this I think Ford, if they execute everything correctly, which is the key caveat here, then they could potentially build a $30,000 electric pickup truck profitably. And after the pickup, there will be crossovers and perhaps sedans. They showed an animated GIF that showed a bunch of different body styles on this, and this kind of architecture is pretty easy to do different body styles off of it. So we'll see. The other component, of course, is they've got a new zonal electronic architecture, which means all new software. That's where things are probably most likely to go sideways.
Go a little sideways.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what happens.
It'll be interesting to see what happens, and it'd be cool if they can build a truck. I think that I feel like we have lots of promises for a truck that at an EV that price point, they don't really happen.
Yeah, well, like I said, this is the kind of approach that a lot of this is what Chinese automakers are doing to build their $20,000-$25,000 EVs, and we'll see if Ford can pull it off. Ford will be based on what we know so far. Ford looks to be the first legacy automaker to take this approach to building EVs.
It'll be interesting. I mean, and I feel, it would be cool if they can do it. And I think it'll be interesting to see. Hopefully they give us some information as they're sort of moving along so we can follow how this all comes together.
And if they can execute it, I think Slate's done.
Oh, you do? You think Slate will be done if they do this?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Because, for $30,000, you're getting compactish to midsize electric pickup truck with probably 250 miles of range.
Yeah.
It will have 4 doors, seating for 5. It'll have power windows. It'll have an infotainment system, none of which are included in the $27,000 Slate 2-door pickup. I think there will be some people that will want the minimalist Slate, but I think there'll be a lot more people that would be, the number of people that will want to pay $27,000 for a 2-door Slate with no radio in it and manual windows, versus the number of people that will say $3,000 more to get a truck that's painted already, that I don't have to apply the wrap to, that I don't have to stick a radio in, that I don't have, that I can, carry my friends and not have to spend the money to install extra seats or, anything else. I think Slate is going to have a really hard time competing with this.
It'll be a challenge. Yeah. I thought this, when I saw the Slate, I thought it was neat. It's a really interesting idea. The thing was, people who were excited about it were just super excited about everything. So I don't know. I couldn't tell those, like when the people who are like the early adopters of any new company, any new whatever, are always super excited about it. I mean, I remember guys feeling that way about Fisker. Look where that went,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll get to Fisker a little bit later, or the descendants of Fisker. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to watch. I think Slate's going to have a hard time unless they can sell that truck if they can sell it for $20,000. Yeah, I mean, their original plan was based on having tax credits, which would have brought the base price down to about $20,000.
Yeah.
With those gone, Ford designed this, to be sold at $30,000 before credits.
Right.
And I think Ford is probably going to have a lot easier time selling their trucks than Slate will.
Yeah. I think
especially, if it's a Maverick sized truck, I mean, look how popular Maverick is.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great size. And, to have an EV in that category that's affordable. That's the key. Having an EV that's affordable, that would be a big deal.
Yeah.
Do it if they can do it.
All right. Cadillac announced a new program this week called Curated by Cadillac. So
sounds so fancy.
The German automakers all have these customization programs. Porsche does it, BMW does it, Mercedes-Benz does it, Audi does it, where, if you don't like the color options that are available, or you want a different interior on your car, or pretty much anything else, they will build it for you. It'll cost you, but they'll build it for you.
And it's only on the CT5 2026 CT5V Blackwing.
Right. Well, yeah, to start with for Cadillac. Like I said, the Germans, do it on most of their models. They have,
right.
There's BMW individual, Mercedes manufacturer. I forget what Porsche calls their program.
Yeah, they have one.
But now Cadillac is doing this, and they're starting with the CT5 Blackwing. My guess is if it's even reasonably successful, they will add this to other models in the next year or two. So what you end up with is a CT5 Blackwing that is essentially hand built, and they will customize it for you. You can have a palette of more than 160 colors.
And including high gloss and frost, each hand painted by artisans to show quality standards. You have a hand painted car.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're going to be building these in a separate facility from the normal plant in Lansing. And instead of going through the normal paint shop, they will build up the body, and they'll have guys out there spraying, painting these cars by hand and buffing them and painting or, finishing them off. And they will have an expanded selection of colors and materials that can be mixed and matched, access to elevated client experience. So it basically
that was kind of for this client experience. They talk about the concierge, and it's not just a random person from Cadillac. They're saying these are true design experts who've worked in, what do they say, fashion, entertainment, fine arts, design, and they're the ones who are going to be helping you advise on your Curated by Cadillac, presumably so you don't think that two things look great together. The designer's going to say that might not look the way
they'll provide some feedback for you,
right?
But I think ultimately, the goal is to have the customer let the customer have what they want. So they will
to note what the starting price is to have what you want. Did you see that number, Sam?
Yes, it is elevated from the standard CT5 Blackwing. It's $158,000.
That's the start.
Yes.
So depending on how fancy you get with your interior, that's the start. But it does include the destination fee. Yay!
Yeah. They're going to build these in Warren. There's a building at the GM Tech Center in Warren, Michigan, which is where they also assemble the Celestiq. That's where they're going to be building these Blackwings, the CT5 Blackwings.
And they do have a couple of images, presumably, of one of the ideas you could get. It's they're calling it? They have an interior in Morello red that looks incredible, and an exterior in deep amethyst metallic. They look cool. I mean, people, it's going to let you come up with some pretty slick looking cars. And I always thought it was cool to make your own car, to really pick. I don't just want one of these 3 color schemes you have. I want this. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, well, these one of one programs I think are pretty interesting. Dodge did it with the last run of Vipers, the last few hundred Vipers a few years back. They did a one of one program, so each customer could order and customize theirs however they wanted, and then whatever combination they picked, that was off the table for any subsequent customers. So no other customer could order the exact same car.
Oh, wow. So nobody could ever duplicate. You literally were driving a one-of-one that
Yeah.
could never be done with anyone else. That's kind of cool.
And they also just announced that they're doing the same thing now with the Durango for 2026. They're offering a one-of-one program with the Durango. I forget exactly what they call it, but they've got a bunch of special colors that you can order, different color combinations and stripes and different other things. And now Cadillac's doing this. I don't know if the Cadillac program is exclusive. It's not clear if they will let multiple customers choose the same combination.
It doesn't say anything in there about them saying once it's designed, that's it. So it doesn't look like it has any way to keep that. Although the chances are pretty slim that you probably get two of you who picked exactly the same crazy design.
Unless you wanted, his and hers or his and his, for you and your partner, or hers and hers.
Yeah. Do that.
Yeah. Let's see. What does a CT5 Blackwing start at anyway right now?
Oh, the straight up one.
Sedan. The CT5 V Series Blackwing starts at $99,000.
So that's a good chunk more for this.
Yeah. So you're looking
almost
about $60,000 more to start with.
Yeah.
So, maybe you might want to consider ordering one of these as your next vehicle.
Maybe for $158,000, maybe I'll order two. Who knows?
I mean, as long as we're talking about your vehicles,
yes.
Do you want to provide us any potentially final update on the Wagoneer S?
At the moment, the Wagoneer S is it's going as it should. It is in my driveway. We actually took it on a big little road trip yesterday up to the beach to have lobster rolls, and it charged when it was supposed to charge, and unplugged it, and it was ready to go. So it's going as it should. I just got it back this past week. And there's still a couple of issues that have nothing to do with the battery. But we're working on those, and but for the moment she runs. The Wagoneer is going. She runs. So
is it going to be in your possession for much longer?
I'm unsure. Okay. How about we leave that?
So you haven't finalized. So there could be a further update.
There could be a further update. So I am unsure how things are going to roll out at this point. But yeah, there will probably be one more update, at least one more update.
Okay.
State of the state, but it's running right now. I drove it all day yesterday. It was fabulous. I do love it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's important. Because
Yes.
even when your car is frustrating you, if you still love it, then
I do, which is
at least you get something
part
done.
of this, Sam, is that I don't hate the car. I love it. I love this car. I just hate when it doesn't work. But I love the car. I love driving it. It's really fun. It's really quiet. It's really peppy. I love the car. I feel like I have a little bit of an abusive relationship with my Wagoneer S. Like it's,
I am familiar with that. We had the same scenario with a couple of Volkswagens for many years.
I love it, and you keep me like, oh gosh, I know it's gonna do this to me, and I love it anyway.
Yeah.
Yep.
Especially with our 2000 Passat.
Oh yeah.
We had exactly that kind of relationship.
Yeah. So we'll see. Things are a little bit up in the air, but I'll keep you guys all updated on how that rolls out.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the stuff that's happening at Monterey this weekend as we're recording. A lot of the events at Monterey Car Week are winding down. The concours at Pebble Beach is still going on today, but at least here in the U.S., Monterey Car Week has actually kind of, in many ways, become the most important auto show. And this is where we see a lot of, at least at the higher end of the market, a lot of debuts, a lot of interesting concepts that, if you happen to be, well, probably by the time you hear this, it's probably too late, but, they were actually showing one of those curated CT5 Blackwings at Monterey. But there's a bunch of other stuff. Let's start with Acura.
Okay.
So last year at Monterey, Acura showed off a concept, they called the Precision Electric Concept. That was, it's funny, when we saw it, they had already launched the ZDX. The original ZDX was Acura's first SUV coupe, their first fastback utility vehicle. And it seemed like if they were going to build something like this, that's the car they should have called the ZDX. But they didn't. They put that name on a car, on a utility based on the Cadillac Lyriq, a more wagon-like vehicle. And then, in earlier this year, they released an image of a camo-wrapped prototype that Acura announced would be their first in-house built EV. And now this week in Monterey, they have showed it as the RSX prototype. So, in Honda and Acura's terminology, when they call something a prototype, as opposed to a concept, what you are seeing is effectively the production vehicle with only very minor tweaks. Like in this case, probably the mirrors. You'll probably get, standard optical mirrors instead of the digital mirrors that are on this one. But otherwise, what we see here is basically the new RSX that will go into production late this year in Marysville, Ohio, go on sale early in 2026, based on the new Honda EV platform that will also be used for the Honda Zero Series vehicles. What do you think?
I like it. This color that they're showing us is sort of yellowy gold color that's actually really cool, and it looks neat with the black accents in the car. I think it looks good. I like the design of it. I like that it's not too fussy in the front. Like it's got just enough angles. I think it's a sleek looking little car. What do you think?
I agree. I like it a lot. And I'm generally not a huge fan of these SUV coupes. But I think this one's pretty well executed. The main difference, it's actually stuck surprisingly close to last year's concept. It's been toned down a little bit, but not a whole lot.
Yeah.
The biggest difference, I think, from I was looking back and forth at the images the other day of the last year's concept and this one. And the concept, the greenhouse was smaller. So the roof line was a little bit lower, and the whole greenhouse area was kind of squished down a little bit to give it a more out there appearance. But other than making the greenhouse a little bit bigger, so you actually have some volume for passengers, which the concept didn't have to accommodate, it's not bad.
And I love the profile. Like it looks good from it's nice from the front, good 3/4, rear 3/4, but that profile, I love how they've done that, like you said, the coupe hatchback, the SUV coupe thing. I like how this one is executed. It doesn't look, sometimes they look like you just took an SUV and messed with it. Like we have this as a perfect little SUV. Now it's a coupe. This one just looks like it was designed to look this way. It looks good.
Yeah, it does. It does look like it was purpose designed for this profile.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't look like they messed with something they had and tried to make it work.
Yeah. I expect we'll probably see the final production version of this perhaps at the LA Auto Show in November. It maybe at CES, but I think it'll probably be at LA is where we'll see the actual production version. But it's basically going to be what you see here. This is it.
Yeah, I like it. I think it looks good.
Next up from Monterey, let's do Infiniti.
Okay.
So Infiniti showed a couple of different things. They have the QX65 monograph and a couple of QX80 concepts. So QX65.
QX65.
Yes.
Which is another sportback SUV, which you don't generally like, right? Isn't that in your category of not liking?
Generally, yeah. I mean,
what do you think of this one compared to the Acura?
It's not bad. I actually saw this almost 2 years ago for the first time when I was in Japan. When I was I went to the 2023 Japan Mobility Show with Nissan, and they took us to their headquarters and their design center, and they Alfonso Abaya, who's the head of design for Nissan, the global head of design for Nissan, basically walked us down this row of prototypes and clay models and fiberglass models of everything that Nissan had planned for its global lineup over the next 4 years. And among those, we've now seen several of those vehicles come to market. The Kicks was there. The new Nissan Micra that is launching overseas that unfortunately we don't get. The Murano was there. And now the QX65 is the latest one. Oh, and the Leaf. They showed us the new Leaf, which we'll be driving in a few weeks for the first time. But the QX65, this is basically the QX60, which is Nissan or Infiniti's version of the Nissan Pathfinder, with the third row removed and the roof chopped off at the back to give you a coupe. What do you think?
I like how it looks. I think the grill's a little on the aggressive side. From the front, I'm not. It's a lot. Did you look at the front picture? Just right on. It's a lot.
It is a lot. But I think this is the direction they're trying to go with Infiniti. To make it bolder and set it apart even more from Nissan.
It makes it bolder. It makes it stand out more. I think it gives it more distinctive character, especially the lighting across the front. I feel like they're really trying to give it something that's distinctively Infiniti, which I think is a good call. I think it needs that. Like other than the grill being a little bit on the out there side, like even the lighting pattern in the back, when you look at it, they've done a lot with lights, which who does that? Kia does so much cool stuff with the lighting signatures on their cars that it's become such a neat aspect of their vehicles. It looks like Infiniti's doing something kind of similar with that. And I think that's a good call. The vehicle overall, like the dimensions of it and the, the profile and everything, it looks a little more traditional SUV coupe profile, I think. But I like this one. I actually like the Acura's sort of slopier. It's a smoother back to the Acura we were just talking about than this one. But I do like what they did with this. What do you think, Sam? How do you feel?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. Like the roof line, it's not cut down quite as aggressively as the Acura. The Acura I think is going for even more of the coupe thing. Where they're less worried about backseat headroom, whereas in this one, there's a metal trim piece that goes across the top of the side glass that kind of gives you that sort of profile. But then the actual metal, which at least on this concept, is done in black to contrast from the rest of it. It's similar to the idea that Ford did with the Mustang Mach-E,
2001,
which was to have contrasting color for like a black for the roof, and to kind of hide the fact that the roof line actually extends back a little bit more, so you have some extra rear seat headroom. So this one I think will probably be a little bit more usable for multiple passengers than the Acura. But aside from that, and I think this one, a few years ago when they launched the QX55, they talked about it being inspired by the old Infiniti FX from the early 2000s. And I don't think it ever quite really fit with that. I think at least from a design perspective, I think this is a lot closer to the sort of feel we had from the FX than the QX55 was. Although, from a performance standpoint, I don't think this will match what the FX did, because the FX was built on a rear drive platform with a longitudinal V6. It was also available with a V8 engine. This is based on the Pathfinder QX55, so it's a front drive, all-wheel drive platform. So I think it'll do fine, but it's I think the design's pretty good. I think they've done a decent job on it.
Yeah, it does look good. I like it too.
Yeah. All right. Then the other thing that Infiniti was showing is a pair of QX80s, which also have very large grills, by the way.
Very large grills. That's kind of the theme, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like, but I don't mind it as much on the QX80, or at least the track spec one. The terrain spec one is wild. The track spec one I actually really like. The terrain spec that's wild. The front end of that car. Look at that.
Yeah.
Between the lights that are the lights on the roof and the lights that are just the lights, and there's so many lines, and then there's
Yeah, a lot of vertical and slightly diagonal lines.
It's lines everywhere. I do like the track spec one though.
Yeah, my
You're like,
my problem with the track spec.
yes.
Okay, the QX80 is a big 3-row body on frame full size SUV.
Yes.
Not much different from the Expedition you were driving.
Correct.
The idea of making a track spec version of such a vehicle just seems anathema to me. Why would I want a vehicle like this on a track?
Well, there was the Durango SRT Hellcat, right?
Yes.
That's a 3-row. Isn't that 3 rows or is that 2?
It's a 3-row, yes.
Okay, so the Durango, that's a track-worthy car. Did you like that one? Oh, you didn't like it.
I'm not a huge fan of it.
Oh, see, I thought. And then what else? Was it the Cherokee or the Grand Cherokee?
Well, there was the Grand Cherokee, the Grand Cherokee Trackhawk.
Okay.
Which
isn't a 3-row, but it's still big.
It's just, this one, even compared to the Durango, this is a larger vehicle than the Durango.
It is.
The Grand Cherokee, was the smallest of that group.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably, that is probably a more reasonable size to have a high performance model. This track spec QX80, I don't know. It doesn't do it for me.
So do you like the terrain spec better?
I think the terrain spec makes more sense for this kind of vehicle. It's basically an overlanding version of the QX80.
It probably makes more sense, but I don't like there's so many lines on the front of the grille, it hurts my head. There's literally diagonal lines in the grille. They go a different way, the lines that make up the headlights. There's a different set of lines in the trim at the edge of the hood. There's lines that go a different direction underneath. And then looks like there's lines that are on the skid plate possibly. And then there's lines along there's so many lines. It's like I'm having like a visual aura from like in a migraine. There's lines everywhere.
That's fair enough. Well, you can have the track spec. I'll take the terrain spec.
Okay, this is fair. We'll get one of each.
Yeah.
We'll just trade off and see which we like better in the real world.
There we go. That works. Okay, let's see. What else? Cadillac. In addition to showing the curated CT5 black spec, they had an actual concept. Quite a wild concept, too. The Elevated Velocity.
Okay, the first thing I think about this when I look at this in that main picture is the DeLorean. That's all I see when I look at this, like DeLorean for 2025. Do you see it?
I do, because it's finished in silver. It almost looks like it could be bare stainless steel. Mm-hmm. It's not, but it's got gull-wing doors, big. Yep. Huge gull-wing door, like enormous gull-wing doors.
How thick those are. Look at the thickness of that door.
And they're also very long. When you look at it from the side profile, they're very long doors because, unlike a DeLorean, which was a 2-seat vehicle, this is a big 4-seat utility. Technically an SUV. I thought something that was interesting when I was on the briefing call, the backgrounder for this on Monday. And when they showed us these images, I thought, it took me back to New York this year when we saw the Genesis concept, mm-hmm. which, it's a very different vehicle from this, but it's got some interesting similarities in that these are both very large, very high riding, lots of ground clearance, big wheels and tires, very long hood profile. In the case of the Genesis, the greenhouse is more upright, more boxy, whereas this is much sleeker than the Genesis. But this idea of these high-end luxury SUVs, very long hood, very big wheels, lots of ground clearance, it's going to be interesting to watch in the next 3, 4, or 5 years to see if we actually start seeing vehicles of this form factor start to come to market.
Yeah, because this is a concept, so this doesn't exist. So it's not even it's not like a prototype like you were talking about earlier. This is purely a concept, which means we could see something kind of sort of maybe like this or not even remotely at all.
Yeah, and Cadillac, over the last 20, 25 years has been less inclined to bring concept ideas like this to production than I think Genesis has. Genesis, more of the concepts that Genesis has shown have filtered their way into production in some form. So I think if either brand is likely to do it, it seems like it's more likely Genesis will do it. But, both of these, are also electric, which is interesting.
Did you see that there is a bespoke polo set in the rear of the Cadillac Elevated Velocity Concept? It's literally a polo set in a little case.
Yeah.
Okay, when I first look at this, though, it makes me think of Harry Potter with the snitch that's in a little thing, like the red. I think that's actually a helmet, that the helmet should sprout wings and fly away.
Is that what that's supposed to be, the helmet?
It's gloves, because it's a polo set, right? So there's
Yeah,
gloves.
okay, yeah,
helmet,
and sunglasses. And
the polo balls, and then there's this, I guess those two other pieces. Do they
is
make
that supposed to be the mallet?
The mallet together?
An extending mallet?
I think those make the mallet. Yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like that piece in the middle has to be the helmet.
Yeah.
Or the golden snitch for Cadillac.
Who knows? It's an interesting concept. I think
it is.
If nothing else, even if they don't build a vehicle like this, there's some interesting design ideas that I think we will see filter into future Cadillacs. Like when you look at the back, the lighting, especially in the center section, it's got this depth to it. It looks like there's a tunnel that's lit up. When you look at it, it's got these light bars in there. Actually, Honda did something very similar last year with their 0 Series Saloon concept. Had a similar kind of idea there.
I mean, that's really the takeaway from the concepts. You don't generally see something that really looks like this coming to production, but you'll see elements of it. It does show you what the designers at a given company are thinking. It shows you what they're putting a focus on and where they might. So might not see this, but you could see something that has that sort of lighting in the back or has that sort of curving to the sheet metal. And it does give you a hint at where their minds are. This would be their wildest ideas here, but tone that down and you can get bits and pieces of this in production cars, which would be sort of neat to see.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be very interesting to watch Cadillac over the next 5-10 years because, in a couple of recent briefings I've been in with them, they've talked a lot about, a few weeks ago I was on one with John Roth, the president of Cadillac or whatever his current title is, the head of Cadillac. And, he talked about, wanting really, there's a lot of emphasis on expanding the brand globally. Cadillac, had some good success in China, but that is faltering as it is for all non-Chinese OEMs. And so they're looking, where can we make up for that lost market share in China? And looking at the rest of the world, looking at Europe, South Asia, and everywhere else. This is part of what's behind their strategy with racing as well. They, in the last couple of years, they've gone into the World Endurance Championship with a GTP car. They are running. They're going to be joining Formula One next year. There's going to be a Cadillac Formula One team starting in 2026. Those are not insignificant investments, and the reason why you do that is to promote your brand outside of the U.S. You're not going to go into Formula One and into World Endurance Championship, just to sell more cars in Omaha. That's something.
Welcome back to car.
Where was that coming from?
I don't know. Did something open up behind me? Maybe I was watching the screen. Maybe that was a bit of an ad because I had windows open looking at all this stuff we were talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what other sorts of products Cadillac comes out with over the next few years.
Yeah.
And then finally, on the U.S. side, you remember the Fisker Karma?
I do remember the Fisker Karma. They came before the Fisker Ocean, the first iteration of Fisker that failed, before the second iteration of Fisker that failed. Is this the third iteration of Fisker? What is this?
So when Fisker Automotive, which was the company that built the Fisker Karma, went bankrupt, unlike Fisker Inc., which built the Ocean, Fisker Inc. just got liquidated. Nobody bought up the assets and tried to keep the company going. Fisker Automotive got acquired by a Chinese company called Wangshan Group, which is a major Chinese supplier. And they have kept the company more or less in business for the last 15 years or 12 years since they bought it. It was 2023, I think, 2013 when they acquired it. And they have continued to build cars based on the Karma ever since then in very small volumes, but they're still there. They're still kicking. And last year they showed a new variant of this. They had been selling they had been selling a modified version of the original Karma as the Karma Rivero. So the company is called Karma Automotive now. And they had the Rivero, which they were selling for a number of years. And then that transitioned into the GS6, which was a further modified version of that. And now the latest iteration of the original Karma is called the Gyesera, which when they first showed it, it's got some styling updates to it, new interior on it compared to the original Fisker Karma. And when they first showed it last year, they talked about it being all electric. Well, as the market has shifted around a little bit, they have opted to, at least for now, keep it as an extended range EV, which is what the original Fisker Karma was, the first really somewhat volume production EREV. It had at the time originally a GM 4-cylinder turbo 2-liter engine that was driving a generator, and it had a battery and a couple of electric motors driving the rear wheels. The engine was not in any way connected to the wheels. And they still have that same basic powertrain architecture, although they don't really get much into specs on the new one. But I'm guessing the last time that I drove one, I drove a Rivero back in 2019. They had switched from the GM engine to a BMW 1.5 liter 3-cylinder turbo as the range extender engine. And I'm guessing they're probably still using that because that engine is actually still available, unlike the GM engine that they used to use. But when you look at this, you can clearly see the lineage, especially in the center section of the car, to the original Karma. What do you think of these updates?
I mean, I think it looks good. I like how it looks. I think it makes for a neat looking sedan. I don't know if I've caught the starting price in there right. It's like $165,000.
Yes.
Not for $165,000. That is a lot. That is a lot. And then the Amaris, I don't know, Amaris coupe.
Yeah.
That's going to be next year, $200,000.
566 horsepower for the Gyesera, or however you're supposed to pronounce it. Gyesera.
Gyesera works for me. I was pronouncing it in my head. I was trying to figure it out. 560. I mean, yeah, that's great, but $165,000 for a car from a company that is sort of in flux, and I mean, I don't think there is in the same kind of flux that Fisker, the recent Fisker Inc. was in before it became Fisker done. But I mean, it looks okay. The pictures, the limited number of photos that they have here, it's a pretty looking car.
The interior, the new interior is much better.
The interior is better. It has a nice interior, nice and streamlined. It's one of those very clean EV style interiors that just doesn't have a lot of fussiness, that can either look plain or they look sort of pleasantly uncluttered depending on your point of view. It looks like there's things to move the vent, Sam.
Yeah, I know.
When you look close up.
And it's got 80 miles of electric range.
That's not bad.
I did, before we started this morning, I went in and pulled up the sales numbers for Karma Automotive over the last 4 years.
Oh, gosh.
Let's see. In 2021, they sold 102 cars. In 22, they sold 195.
Oh, that's a big increase.
And then in 23, they sold 39.
Oh.
And then last year, it was 52.
Well, that's not really the direction overall you want your sales going.
Well, this is why they need to refresh it. Bring out the Gyesera.
Do you think that this year it's going to bump them back into the 100s?
Maybe.
We had revisit in August of 26. So how many they sell last year? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
I think it's a neat concept, but I think the challenge with the Fisker and just the brand has gone through so much, and two companies with almost the same name, and it's hard to get back what you've lost when people feel like you've had a car and not made it. So even though it's not the company that actually went under, the Fisker Inc., it still has a little bit of a black stain on it, I think.
Yeah, although, the basic design that Henrik came up with back it's almost 20, probably 18 years ago now when they first showed it. That basic design is actually holding up pretty well. I mean, it's still a good looking car.
Point of view, it was never design that was the company's problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Design and style was not
pretty much everything else.
Everything else. But yeah, that was never their problem. Yeah, the designs do look good. Fisker, Henrik can make a nice looking car.
All right. Oh, one last one from Monterey that I forgot about. I missed it here on the list. The Lexus Sport Concept.
Lexus Sport Concept.
This is a vehicle. Back in 2022, Toyota first showed a concept called the GR GT3 concept. So this was a concept for their next generation GT3 race car. So currently in the GT3 class, sports car racing, they run the RCF. And, that car is, the RC is going away. It's kind of old now. So the original GT3 concept was this long nose front engine car, pretty wild looking, almost Batmobile-like. And they have been working since then to develop a production version that at the Goodwood Festival of Speed last month, they had the race car and the road car wrapped in camo that were shown off at Goodwood, and now they're showing the road car in its in uncamoed form. They're calling this a concept, but I think this basically is the new Lexus sports car. This is probably going to replace the LC, it's sort of a spiritual successor to the old LFA. This is going to be the basis for the new race car as well.
I love this car.
It is pretty spectacular looking.
It is such a good looking car. It's beautiful. It's so sleek. This is of all the random concepts and stuff we've been looking at today from Monterey and such. This is my favorite. I just absolutely love how this looks from every angle too. When you're looking at the profile in from the front, oh my gosh, it is such a pretty car. It looks like it should be mean and fast. It just looks fabulous.
Yeah, and in the announcement, it says this progressively styled, future-focused yet truly authentic sports car signals the way forward for Lexus design. And there's elements of this. First of all, it looks like they're moving away from the spindle grille.
Yeah, which I was never a big fan of. So
yeah,
I'm not sorry about that.
And you still have the sort of L theme in the headlamps.
Mm-hmm.
Or the daytime running lights anyway, and then but some of the design elements like the sharp crease in the side and the vent behind the front wheels. Some of that, we've already seen in the new Lexus ES that's coming next year. And I think, there's more, from this car, that signals the direction of future Lexus models that we're going to see.
Yeah. For that, I'm excited because I like how this looks. And if the designers take this and incorporate it into some production vehicles, I would not be at all disappointed because I think this is a really just beautifully designed, very sleek looking sports car. It just looks like what you feel like a sports car should look like right now.
Absolutely. All right. One last one that I want to get to.
Okay.
This is a car that's going to be shown in a couple of weeks at the IAA Mobility Show in Munich. Hyundai Ioniq 2.
Another Ioniq.
A baby Ioniq.
A baby Ioniq.
I wish they would sell this car in the U.S.
I was going to say, this isn't coming here. We're not going to get this, right?
Probably not. Almost certainly not. Because
you tease me with this kind of news now that I have to look at.
But we do have listeners outside of North America.
Okay, fine. For you guys, you're getting a really cool car we can't have.
Yeah. This is a little four-door hatchback or five-door hatchback. Tended to be very affordable. And I like this a lot.
It looks good. It looks good. I think this is going to, it's a fun little car, and you got to be honest, we don't sell a lot of, this is not a popular segment in here in the U.S., so it makes sense that they're not bringing him here if they're not. But, if I lived in Europe, sure. It's really cute. It's a fun-looking little car.
I would drive a car like this here.
I would. I'm not saying I wouldn't drive it. What I'm saying is the people don't tend to buy this kind of car here.
Yep. They say it's expected to have the same or similar setup to the Kia EV3, which we are getting early next year.
Yeah.
Which will have either 58.3 kilowatt hour or 81.4 kilowatt hour battery pack. Range is 267 or 372 miles. And they're saying, this is from Autocar, they're saying that the price for the EV2 is expected to be about £25,000, which if it were sold here in dollars, would probably be somewhere in the mid $20,000 range, like $25,000, maybe a little bit more than that. I like what they've done with this car.
Yeah, I think it looks really quite good. They're on a roll with their design, so I'm liking what Hyundai's doing lately.
Yep. All right, we have one email this week. So let's see. This is from Rado. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce your name. Sorry. Let us know if you want to shoot us another email and give me some guidance on the pronunciation. As Robbie has said, some cars just have problems. There is a reason Toyota dealerships can't keep new cars on their lots. And Stellantis has been topping the slowest selling cars rankings in every category for the last, you choose how many years. Please don't talk about things you can't say or your opinion about. Every normal person would be done with the crap Nicole bought. You still are trying to tiptoe around the fact that Jeep makes crappy cars. What I mean is this. Nicole's car has been dead longer than it has been undead. I do not think it has ever been alive. Just say it as it is. Stellantis cars suck or do not mention them. I've been listening to Wheel Bearing since its inception and been a fan of the podcast. Please get back to your roots and give us your unfiltered opinions. I don't know that we've necessarily been filtering our opinions.
Yeah, I'm not filtering my opinion. I've said very much so that I am really sad that the car is having these problems, and I expected to have some quirky issues going on with it because it's a Jeep, and I knew that when I bought that. We have a Wrangler PHEV, and it's had problems off and on since the minute we bought it, and Russ loves that thing. He absolutely loves that thing, even with all of its quirks. The difference being that he's having quirks that his car still runs. I'm having quirks and mine is dead. It's actually, like I said earlier in the podcast, it is running right now. We'll see what we're going to do with it. I think you're being harder than it needs to be. Like Stellantis has issues with what am I trying to say? With quality. But it's not the first Stellantis vehicle I've had. I've had their vehicles before. I had a Charger, we had a Cherokee, we had, I like the vehicles. And I'm aware of the quality issues. But to be fair, I'll just add this in because I have been to several programs from other OEMs over the time that my car has been having troubles. And my car has come up in a couple of those conversations. And uniformly, every single one of those automakers, every single one has said, yeah, you know what? The 12-volt battery is a problem. It's a problem. Not for Jeep. It's a problem. They all have issues with it. Didn't we just talk about it last week? It was the Toyota, or I saw one. Toyota and Subaru had an issue with a 12-volt battery.
Almost every automaker has had 12-volt issues with
exactly
some or all of their EVs.
And that's not what I'm tiptoeing. If that's what you think I'm tiptoeing around, it's not a tiptoeing. It's more me trying to say there's a legit challenge with EVs with the 12-volt batteries. And it's happened to enough automakers. I mean, you bought a car, Sam, that was recalled and the recall was fixed. They took it back and it was because of 12-volt battery issues. So, and I'm not, that's great. So that's Kia, that's Hyundai, that's Toyota, that's Subaru, that's Jeep. They all have problems with this. So I think what I was trying to point out was that, yeah, this Jeep is
even Tesla has had issues with 12-volt batteries.
So it's not that I think that Jeep shouldn't be on the hook for it. Like, yeah, this car is absolutely not doing what it's supposed to. But I think my point was like this 12-volt thing is something all the OEMs are having a little bit of trouble figuring out. None of them have really got it nailed. There's enough problems out there that it strikes you as sort of this like, there's something we haven't quite figured out here yet. Like there's something, enough of them are having problems. Think about all the engineers, all the quality control, all the everything at all of these companies. And yet, so it's not in-house to one company. It's sort of an EV thing that hasn't entirely been resolved. That was my point.
Yeah, and as you said, the Kia EV6, we bought a used EV6 just over a month ago, and I got a great deal on it. And the reason why I got such a good deal on it, I'll be honest, it had 18,500 miles on it, 2023 EV6, paid $24,000 for it.
Yeah,
which is about $4,000 to $5,000 less than the typical price today, right now, for an EV6 with that kind of, 23 EV6 with that kind of mileage on it. Typically they're going for about 27 to 29 for that mileage. The reason why we got it for that price, and I called before we bought it, I called the dealer and said, so what's the deal with this car? I wanted to know why did it seem to be priced so low? And he told me, they have to put it on the title anyway, and on the Monroney, that it was a buyback. It was a lemon buyback. The original owner had purchased it in 2023, had, after some months, very similar to yours, had the 12-volt battery die, had died on him a couple of times. And this is a problem that Hyundai Motor Group, among many other automakers, have had similar issues. And they had a recall, an ongoing recall. The problem was found to be with the integrated charge control unit that manages, charging of the high voltage battery, but it also handles charging, or has the DC to DC converter that goes from your high voltage battery to your 12-volt battery. And there were some issues with it. Hyundai Motor Group redesigned it. They revamped it, and they have been doing a recall, replacing the units on cars in the field. And I checked on the VIN number of the car that we ultimately ended up buying. It had the ICCU replaced, and that's why. And it also still had several years of warranty left on it. And so decided to take the chance on it. And figured it was, it would be fine. It's not our only car. And so, we took the risk of buying that, and we got a fantastic deal on it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're right. Stellantis has had, and particularly in the last few years, has had some significant quality issues. But so has Ford. Ford has had, I think, something like 90 recalls since the beginning of this year.
Right. They were like holding the crown for the most recalls. They did 1 month they had there was 1 month where the number of recalls they had was insane. Can't remember the number.
And they've had to recall, I think somewhere between 1 and 2 million vehicles, because of cracked fuel injectors. Toyota had a big recall on the Tundra for the 3.4 liter twin turbo V6s that were failing in the Tundras, and they're replacing all the engines in all of those trucks. GM had a big recall on their 6.2 liter V8s. So, we don't talk a lot about recalls just because there are so many of them.
It's like practically a daily occurrence. Yeah. There's a recall on some vehicle, the number of them that are out there. So I think it's not, I think I'm not trying to defend Stellantis, but saying that their vehicles are crap because there's problems with this one, well, then you could say that, Sam's Kia's crap. You could say that anybody who's ever had a problem with a vehicle, it's crap. To make that's the thing that automakers fight, is that someone has a bad experience with a vehicle. It's not indicative of every car, every owner, every experience. You can have good experiences and bad experiences with an automaker, depending on the car, and even depending on the one that you get. You can have one that's a lemon. That might be what the issue is going on with mine. We don't really know. But I think it's just, I would not say that Jeep makes crappy cars. I like Jeeps. I do like them. They have their quirks, they have their challenges, but we've bought more than one. This is the first one that we've really had significant issues with. Everything else has been quirky. But Dodge is part of the Stellantis brand. I had my Dodge Charger. I bought that in 2010. That's what I traded when I got this one. I think I changed the tires. I may have fixed the brakes once and the battery a time or two over the course of 15 years. Not bad. You know what I mean? So it's not like, I think that's too harsh. I wouldn't say any company just makes crappy cars. I feel like that's harsh.
Yeah. I mean, we've had good and bad experiences with vehicles from multiple brands in our household. And like you said, every company's built lemons at various points in time. And as far as being, unfiltered, I think we give pretty honest opinions. I know I do. And I've gotten criticized for my opinions. So I think, we will continue to try and give honest opinions, to the degree that we, hedge on anything. It may be because we don't know what the root cause is. And if we can find out, and if there's an explanation for an experience we had, we will do our best to share that with you. But we do try to give you our honest opinions on everything we drive.
If I was really hedging, you wouldn't know I'd had a problem with it.
That's true. We wouldn't have talked about it at all.
I would have just said Sam and Robbie would know, and you guys would have no idea. But I chose to say something, so I just chose not to be that harsh because I feel like I'm never going to say.
Because there are a lot of good aspects of the Wagoneer S.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it, except for the problems it's been having with the 12 volt and associated issues. So yeah.
I mean, I was telling Nicole earlier, we had a 2000 Volkswagen Passat wagon with the 1.8 liter 4-cylinder turbo. We bought it in 2000. That car spent more time in the shop, and I spent more money on repairs on that engine than on any car I've ever owned in my life. And yet my wife loved driving that car.
See?
And, we kept it for 9 years despite all the problems. And, what did we replace it with? Another Volkswagen.
See? There you go.
We bought a Jetta TDI wagon with the quote unquote clean diesel. I had a Volkswagen Beetle. I had a Jetta once, and then I replaced it with a Beetle, and I never had significant problems with either one. I love them. So I wouldn't have, you had a crappy experience. You know what I mean? It's yeah. So. All right. On that note, let's call it a show.
All right.
And we'll talk to you all next time. Bye.
Lowe's knows to bring your vision to life, it's important to find the right color. That's why MyLowe's Rewards members get a free Valspar paint or exterior stain sample to test your look to confidently refresh your space. Offer valid in-store only 8/7 to 8/20. Limit 1 per customer while supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See associate for details. Rewards program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.